Welcome back to Virtual School Assembly. Today our guest is Amobi Okugo. Amobi is a professional soccer player since 2010 who's represented the U.S. in the 2012 Olympics. He has a bachelor's degree from the University of Louisville and is pursuing a master's degree at Arizona State University. Amobi is also the founder of A Frugal Athlete, an online media platform that promotes prudent financial practices and smart career decisions among professional and student athletes. And I'm so excited about that part. We're going to dig into that. But first, welcome to the show, Amobi.
No, thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. And
Yeah.
I have to correct you because we were supposed to make the Olympics, but we didn't. So one of the downfalls of my soccer career, we weren't able to attend the Olympics, but I was part of the Olympic qualifying.
So you qualified for the team or?
So I made the team. I made the Olympic team for the qualification. We just didn't qualify for the World Cup. So we ended up tying. Yeah, we ended up tying El Salvador, and again we needed to win. And we just was it Honduras or El Salvador? I tried to erase it from my memory because it was.
For me, the important thing is you represented the United States. That's so cool. What an honor
Yes,
to
sir.
do that. So
Yeah,
I'm leaving that in. I'm not
honor.
going to go back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll keep that for sure.
That's really cool. So, Amobi, let's go back in time a little bit. You've played soccer, I assume, your whole life. When did you start playing more competitively?
Yeah. So, that's a great question. Give some backstory. So, grew up first generation Nigerian American. Played soccer and basketball. Obviously, soccer is just the main sport coming from a Nigerian background. But I played for like the local school team, just because that's what was there. My parents, that's what they knew. And it was about fourth grade. Obviously, at this time, I was starting to showcase my talent. And one of the parents told my dad, was like, your son needs to be playing at a higher level. He's like, he's playing for the school team. That's the highest level there. He's like, no, there's like something called competitive soccer. So then I tried out for like the local team, and then that's kind of where competitive soccer started. So I started with my club team locally, like one of the suburb teams. And then from there, that's when I started getting seen by bigger teams and coaches and scouts and all that.
So as a kid, what position did you play?
Center mid. So my dad put me in that position just because you get a little bit of defense, you get a little bit of offense, and that's when you have to utilize the most skills.
And is that what you're still playing today, or have you moved around a bit?
I moved around a little bit, but mostly still center mid, sometimes center back. So defense, midfield. I feel like the older you get, the farther back you move. So I started out like number 8. That's when you're more up and down. Then I play number 6, more like steady, like kind of control the line. And then now sometimes I play center back and just last line of defense.
So with the limited knowledge I have of soccer, what I know about center mid is you do a ton of running. And so conditioning was critical even as a kid. What did you do to get into shape for soccer? Aside from just playing soccer, what were you doing even at a young age for conditioning?
No, that's a great question because I hate running. And when people's like, well, you play soccer. I was like, that doesn't mean anything. I'd rather, I'd rather play 5 games in a row than just run. Just because, there's different types of fitness when it comes to soccer, like game fitness, like actual fitness, running fitness. But for me, when I was younger, I did a lot of stairs and hill runs because I felt like that was a good way to get cardio without having to, run miles at a time. And then it built just strength in my legs and, built that power and agility and speed. But outside of that, because I was able to play so many games and play so much basketball and soccer, I didn't really have to do any structured training or specialized training for that.
Yeah, just playing the sports kept you in great shape. And I think that's normal for a lot of kids. As long as you're staying active, and especially if you're playing multiple sports, it's keeping you in great shape. So I was talking about conditioning. It's funny because today I did hill runs with my son. He's 14. And he is running. And when I was younger, I ran cross country, and we had shirts that say, "Our sport is your sport's punishment." It sounds like for you, that's exactly what it was.
Once
you wouldn't have
the low back starts to go, I don't know how
my last race was a 50 miler. You would have loved it.
What?
I did a 52.4 mile double marathon a few months ago, so it would have been
just
a lot
for
of fun
fun
for you. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Respect. I respect that.
Yeah, for me, it's we won't get into my story, but I lost 100 pounds last year, and so that was kind of the challenge at the end of that was to run this ultra marathon.
That's great.
Cool. Well, so you've been in competitive soccer for a long time. From high school to the pros, what was that process like?
Oh, my high school story, like my whole story was like really unique. So, once I went to club soccer, I ended up, progressing, starting playing for the youth national teams. So I started my freshman year at the like local Catholic school, the all boys high school. My sophomore year, I got invited to residency, and residency is the U17 national team program based in Bradenton, Florida. It's no longer in service, but basically it's like boarding school for the top youth national team players. So basically 6 o'clock, wake up, workout, breakfast, practice, go to school, do it all over again, travel the world to compete, ultimately, hopefully, leading up to the U17 World Cup. So I did that for a year and a half. Then I came back to Sacramento and finished my high school at the Catholic boys' school and then the local rival public school because I was missing summer school because I was still part of the youth national teams at that time, U18 and U20 national team pools. So once I graduated, I went to UCLA and was fortunate. We had a good team, we had a good season, and when good things happen to the teams, individuals show out. So I was fortunate enough to have some interest, and I decided to go pro after my freshman year. So wow. My UCLA coach still jokes about it. He recruited me for 3 years, but I was only there for 3 months. So from there. Got drafted in 2010 MLS Super Draft to Philadelphia Union, and then the rest is history from the professional athlete.
Yeah,
career.
That's cool. So with you being part of that under 17 team, was that really good preparation then for going pro because you kind of almost already had that lifestyle where you were living there, you were living, breathing soccer? Do you feel like that was good prep?
Yeah, that was basically, it was like almost like a pre-training camp for what I was going to be expecting to do if I wanted to be pro. Just the fact that I was with, top talent at that age, pushing each other every day. If you're not performing, you get cut just like a regular team. It's just a true case of iron sharpens iron. And for me personally, I think that helped my career really take off to the next level and helped me get acclimated to the professional life, and not only professional, but at UCLA as well.
Cool. So let's talk about a few of the highs of your soccer career. If you had to look back at like one or two moments that really stood out above the rest, what are some of the best things that have happened to you in your professional soccer career?
First and foremost, the first game, making my debut with my parents there, all the sacrifices they made, all the drives that they made, me being able letting their son leave school early, letting their son go to Florida in high school, all the sacrifices they made. So when that first game happened, it was like, this is like the culmination of all the hard work that was put in. And like, that's the reward. Like no one could take away that, like you made your professional debut. It could have been like my last game ever. You were a professional soccer player. So that's like a game that stands out for me. Another game would probably be when we were in Philadelphia. It's like my third or fourth year, and I started to make like a name for myself, started breaking into the team. We were able to make our first ever final. And yeah, it was a big moment because our team, we was going through lots of ups and downs, a lot of growing pains being an expansion team. So being able to play away, we had the semifinals in the Open Cup. I was able to score a goal that game, and it led us to our first ever final. That's something else, like no one can ever take that away, being able to take your team to its first ever final. Even though we didn't win the finals, we lost to Seattle. Great team. That's still a moment that always stays true.
Yeah, that's cool. So a lot of kids watching this, they want to be a professional athlete one day. They want to be famous, but they don't understand the grind and, the work that goes into it. What are one or two things that maybe you didn't think about when you were younger that you've now experienced as a pro that you look back and be like, wow, I wish I didn't have to do that, or I wish I didn't have to experience that? What are some of the things that kids don't think about?
I would think they don't think about like the sacrifices they're gonna have to make. They think like they can do it all. Like I can go hang out with my friends, I can socialize, I can play, I can do all these things. And like, yes, you can do that, but if you want to make it to the elite level, you want to make it to the elite level, there's things that you're going to have to sacrifice, whether it's like your eating habits, whether it's making sure you stay in on top of your schoolwork so you are eligible, or maybe you're missing, proms and high school dances and, get-togethers and kickbacks. Like, I think over the course of my 4 years of high school, I went to like 2 dances.
Oh,
And yeah, it's just like my senior year, I missed 3 months of school because I was playing soccer. So understanding that if you really want to, make it to that next level, there's going to be sacrifices that you need to make, and you're going to have to be disciplined because not everyone wants to do what you're going to do.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm not a professional soccer player. I love dancing in high school. That was one of my favorite things. So well, that's cool. And that makes sense that you're going to have to make sacrifices. And certainly that's one thing in high school, but you've continued throughout your life. I mean, a lot of people, as we get older, this certainly was the case for me, that our health kind of goes downhill, but you can't do that as a professional athlete. You have to be really vigilant with your routines and your diet and stuff like that. So kudos to you for keeping it up for so long and having such a successful career.
No, thank you. Trying.
Yeah. So I'm a school teacher, and so I have to talk about school for a minute here. You mentioned that you did a semester at UCLA, and I know that you graduated from Louisville, and now you're working on your Master's of Law in sports law, right?
Yeah. So I actually just completed it.
Oh, cool. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you so much.
So as a professional athlete, how did you find the time to get school in along the way? Because obviously you still have to prioritize your job first, right? So soccer
That's
comes
exactly
first.
right.
How did you find time for school amid all your other responsibilities?
So first and foremost, I just got to thank my parents because they were adamant that if I were to leave school early, that I would have to finish my degree. Like, they sacrificed so much. Like, they always put a big emphasis on education. But for me to finish, it was slow and steady, and just a lot of time management, a lot of discipline, and a lot of goal setting. So, obviously because of our schedule and the priority of, performing at the highest level via soccer, it's not like, you're missing practice to like take assignments. So I did the online option, and then 2 classes per semester for 5 years or so. So 2 classes in the spring, 2 classes in the summer, 2 classes in the fall. Sometimes I would try to sprinkle in the 3rd class, like usually during the summer. Yeah. And I ended up, mark off associate's degree, got that out the way. Then next step, then bachelor's degree, got that out the way. Then kind of took some time to like reanalyze. And I was like, all right, let me go for my master's in legal studies, emphasis sports law, and did that as well. So it's just a slow and steady process. I'm fortunate to have the opportunity to do that. And I would say it's just like, I know school, like there's a big term, SMART goals. And that's kind of how I applied it. Like, I know what the insight was. I know what the end goal was. My process was just going to be a little bit slower than what's regular.
Yeah. Well, I get the sense that you're a big picture kind of guy, because when I learned about you, the thing that really drew me in was what you're doing with the Frugal Athlete. And so I want to talk about that for a minute. And I'm sure part of the reason you did your master's with sports law is because of this vision that you have for helping athletes. And honestly, this applies to everyone. It's not just athletes, but in looking long-term at financial decisions, making smart decisions. Talk about that platform, A Frugal Athlete, and tell us what it is and what you plan to do with it.
No, thank you so much. So A Frugal Athlete is essentially an online media platform that promotes prudent financial practices and smart career decisions amongst professional athletes. And you made up a great point that it's not just athletes that are looking for financial literacy or need to think long-term. But for me personally, being an athlete, I know that's like my niche. And I know athletes are natural trendsetters. So if we can get the ball rolling, talking about financial literacy, being smarter with our money, the young fans, the high school students, the older individuals that follow these athletes will be able to take some of the principles that they apply and apply it to their own lives, depending on the scenario, because some athletes make a lot of money, some athletes don't, but there's always different principles that you could take away and lessons learned and apply it to your own situation. So that's essentially why I started A Frugal Athlete. Long-term vision for A Frugal Athlete, we want it to be kind of the ecosystem. If you think, Penny Hoarder, Players Tribune, and Business Insider all in one, that would be like our perfect marketplace where you can come to A Frugal Athlete and say you want to learn about real estate, you put in the search bar real estate, and you have like a whole database of content around athletes and their different real estate ventures. Say you want to learn about, career transition, you go on A Frugal Athlete, same thing. You go on the search, type in career development, personal development, whatever it may be, and you just have a list of content that, is organized from different athletes, not only the LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, Tom Brady's, but the athletes that we don't know about, whether they're playing like tennis, lacrosse, because as a professional athlete, you have so much leverage that people fail to realize. It's really important to highlight that and highlight the different examples, because there's many ways to the top of the mountain. It's not just you have to be the top guy on your team. You can use being a professional athlete, or you can use being a student athlete to connect with an alumni who connects you with this, and now you're the CEO of a company, or you're working in, starting your own business. So that's essentially what a frugal athlete is. Sorry, you got me excited. I can go on and on.
Yeah, no, and I could too. I'm excited because I know a lot of professional athletes, and we've interviewed a lot on this show. And it's interesting because there are certain career tracks that happen after sports for athletes just because of their celebrity, because of the skills they develop, and because of the work ethic. So it's very common to see athletes in administrative positions in different companies and business, in sales, in real estate, in things where they can leverage their experiences. But we also know, and this is a sad statistic, is often, especially at the highest levels in the NFL and people who've made a lot of money, some of those are the most likely to become bankrupt later on.
Yeah.
And we've seen those statistics about whatever percentage of NFL people end up going bankrupt, and it's way higher than the average Joe. We see that in sports. Why do you think that is? Why do you think so many athletes end up having major financial problems later in their lives?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a number of issues, and like I feel like everyone has like the answer of why it's happening, but no one really wants to provide a solution, in the sense of like, oh, okay, obviously, spend less than you make, and save and put it in the right accounts, but it's deeper than that, because a lot of it is not only the athlete that doesn't know the information, but it's the team that they surround themselves with that is either taking advantage of them or doesn't even know the information as well. So, and then a lot of it, some of it's ego. Like, when you make it big and you're making millions, you don't really want to listen to anybody, because it's like, no, I'm good, until you're not. Right. Or, you have an ego and you don't want to ask questions about whether this deal is good or whether this deal is bad, or, am I doing my taxes the right way? Or, even understanding like the hiring process of your financial advisor. Is it fee only? Is it structured? Are they taking commissions? Are they selling insurance? Like, what does it like? And there's been stories of athletes that are paying their financial advisors thousands of dollars, and their financial advisors only just setting their accounts on auto pay. Like, if you really took the time and effort to really take advantage and take an active and proactive approach to your finances, you would realize that you can do that yourself. So just simple things like that. I mean, we can go on and on about the issues at hand.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about some general issues, because financial literacy is not just an issue for professional athletes, but it's something that we really don't have in our school system like we should. When I teach fifth grade, and with my students, we're reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're talking about the stock market, because I want them to have those advantages. My kids, my own children, this summer, when the stock market went south, we talked about why certain companies were depressed. And all four of my kids bought stocks at the bottom of the recession, and they have doubled and tripled their money over the summer because they bought at the right time. And
so now you don't have to give them allowance anymore.
Well, I've never, they earn everything. In fact, my daughter this afternoon went out with an ice cream cart around the neighborhood, and she made $15 selling ice cream to the neighbors so she could buy her stocks. That's what she's doing.
I love that. So. I used to sell chicken wings in elementary school, so she's a future entrepreneur. I love it.
Yeah. No, and I think it's such an important thing, but a lot of kids don't know where to get started. So let's start with some basics. If you're talking to an elementary or a middle school classroom and you have like two things of financial advice to give them now, what's something they should be thinking about now, or a habit they should be developing?
So first thing would be a budget, and not just in the sense of like allocating where you're going to put it, but knowing what's coming in, knowing what's going out. I just came across someone was talking the other day, and it was about you get paid. Obviously, it's different for the fifth grader, but you get paid twice a month sometimes, or once a month usually, but you spend money every day.
Right.
And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, if you think about it. So it's just understanding like, all right, how much money do I have coming in and how much money am I, taking out? And then once you get that down, you understand like where you can cut back, whether it's, Netflix or, paying for fast food, like food. And then now you can organize your budget to know like, all right, from this amount that I'm making, this is how I'm allocating it. And then this is what's coming out. So that's one. Two would be compound interest. I think that's a big concept of people thinking like long-term, just understanding like if I invest properly, it's going to compound over time and I don't have to put any set sweat equity in. Like that concept is, it's just so crazy to me, especially now, like in this world of like, everyone's like now, or like short content, like quick sound bites, everything wants to be quick, like the understanding of patience, tranquilo, calma, and it's going to grow and it's going to grow tenfold if you do it properly. And it's even like that scenario. It's like, would you rather have a penny that doubles every day versus like sometimes they do different scenarios, like 300,000, like right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, everyone's like 300,000. It's like, whoa, slow down. Right. The penny compounds. And yeah, so those would be the two things.
Yeah. Back when I was still in school, I wrote an article about financial literacy and this idea of compound interest because I was reading all the books and the magazines and learning for myself because I was planning on being a school teacher and I knew I'd never have a lot of money, so I had to be smart with my money. And so I wrote this article it was my blog at the time. It was before blogs existed, but you talked about a penny hoarder earlier. Me and Penny Hoarder were the big financial blogs at the time. So mine was called Rich on Any Income, and then there was the Penny Hoarder. And they kept with it, and now it's huge, and mine just fizzled away. Oh. But I wrote this article, and I said, I can't remember what it's called, but the concept was, do you buy a TV now, or do you have $30,000 in retirement? And we talked about the difference with compound interest, where a TV during that time, as a 20-year-old, would cost $500, but if you put that in and got historical returns on that in retirement, that's going to be $30,000. And I started using that in my purchasing decisions. Like I would think on any major purchase, do I really need this now, or would I rather be a millionaire? And it helped me so much because I have drawn on that as a school teacher. I invested a lot of money when I was younger, and last year money was tight and we had to cash out. I had one share of Google that I bought at the bottom that I sold last year, and it paid to landscape my yard, and it was awesome to be able to do that one small decision.
Yeah.
So
it makes everything, and what's it say? Small leaks sink ships. So like, that's just a great concept that you were able to apply at a younger age. And yeah, it's like, get it in early and you're going to reap the benefits, whether it's a rainy day, whether it's, you just want to enjoy. And that's really cool. I like that story.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you're doing with A Frugal Athlete. I think one thing cool that you alluded to earlier is you said, we get paid once or twice a month, but we're paying every day. Well, the world is changing to where if you have different income streams and you're certainly diversifying in your own life, then you can get paid every day and you can have money coming in just like it's going out. And I think you're being really smart about how you're setting that up in your own life, but also setting up so other people can do that. And so I love the long-term vision. I'm excited to follow what you're doing with that.
No, thank you.
So again, let's wrap with this. If you're talking to kids who are thinking about their financial future, what is something maybe that you have done in your life that you're really grateful for, and you'd say, make sure you do this, whether that's a book that you've read or a piece of financial advice that you followed? What's something that you've done that you want to pass on to the kids?
Definitely ask questions. My philosophy is ask why 5 times. So if someone's like saying, this is why you need to invest in this versus this, you just ask why 5 times. By the 4th time, you should have a clear picture of like what it really means. And if they're getting annoyed, then that means they're not the right teacher for you, because teachers love to explain and make sure you get it. And, don't be too afraid to ask questions in that sense. I'd also say read. There's so much information. Everyone has different strategies, different philosophies. So it's understanding, like taking all these different ones and forming your own. So obviously, you have them reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but then there's like, Think and Grow Rich, or there's like, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. There's so many different books, but if I only read this book, then I'm only going to think this way. So it's reading all these different books, reading all these different information, looking at YouTube videos, different things, and formulating your own philosophy based on that, taking the best of each, or I don't want to say taking the worst, but taking the bad lessons that you learned to know, like what not to do, and just formulating your own opinion. And then lastly, I said, ask questions, read, side hustles, or like multiple streams of income. Sure. I think that's really big, because you can never count on one source, in the sense of just in case, whether you get, like for an athlete, whether you get injured, maybe the coach doesn't like you, you always just want to have like a second option, or second or third, fourth, fifth. They say the wealthiest individuals have at least 7. Right. I think that's very important. And if you can use your side hustle income, so whether it's like, so for example, I have a side hustle, like I do surveys for money, and I use that money to pay for groceries. So now from my main, like your main stream, usually your job or your business, whatever it may be, the less amount of times you can use that stream, or take water from that stream, or use that stream, the bigger that stream is, and then you use these side hustles to kind of funnel it in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today. It's been awesome talking to you and seeing what you're working on. If kids want to connect with you or follow you on social media, where's the best place for them to find you online?
No, thank you so much for having me. It's great what you're doing. Anytime, hopefully when this COVID situation, is done, I stop by the school. But you can find me anywhere: Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, at Amobi Says. Also at A Frugal Athlete. I'm coming with the TikTok, try to get with the young crowd. So I'm not going to be doing any dances or anything like that. But yeah, at Amobi Says, or at A Frugal Athlete. www.afrugalathlete.com or www.amobiokugo.com.
Cool. Thanks.